The United Nations was created after World War II with one core goal: prevent future wars and maintain global peace. So when conflicts keep happening, Ukraine, Gaza, Sudan, countless others, the obvious question is, if the UN exists to stop wars, why can't it actually do it? The answer starts with how the UN is designed. At the center of its power is the Security Council, which is responsible for making decisions on major conflicts. But 5 countries, the United States, Russia, China, the United Kingdom, and France, have permanent seats and something called veto power. That means if any one of them disagrees with a resolution, even if the rest of the world supports it, they can block it completely. In practice, this means that whenever a major conflict involves or affects one of these powers or their allies, the UN often becomes deadlocked. It's not that the UN doesn't see the problem, it's that it can't act on it. Even when the UN does agree on something, it has another limitation. It doesn't have its own military. It relies on member countries to provide troops, funding, and enforcement. That means any action the UN takes depends on whether countries are actually willing to follow through. If powerful nations choose not to cooperate, the UN has no real way to force them. It can pass resolutions, issue condemnations, and impose sanctions. But it cannot independently enforce peace the way a single government might within its own borders. There's also the issue of conflicting interests. The UN isn't one unified actor. It's a collection of nearly 200 countries, all with different priorities, alliances, and strategies. What one country sees as a crisis that needs intervention, another might see as a strategic opportunity or an internal matter. These disagreements slow decision-making and often lead to watered-down responses. In global politics, countries don't act based on what is ideal. They act based on what benefits them, and that reality shapes what the UN can and cannot do. Peacekeeping is one area where the UN does operate on the ground, but even that has limits. Peacekeepers are typically deployed after a conflict has already started, and their role is often to maintain stability, not to actively defeat one side. They operate under strict rules, limited resources, and complex political constraints. In some cases, they help prevent violence from escalating further, but they are not designed to end large-scale wars on their own. Another major factor is sovereignty. Countries are independent, and the UN is built on the principle that it cannot easily interfere in a nation's internal affairs without consent or broad international agreement. This makes it difficult to intervene quickly in civil wars or internal conflicts, even when the humanitarian situation is severe. By the time consensus is reached, conditions on the ground may have already worsened. So the reason the UN can't stop wars isn't because it's completely useless. It plays roles in diplomacy, humanitarian aid, and conflict management. But it was never designed to override the power of its strongest members or to act like a global government. It reflects the world as it is, divided, competitive, and driven by national interests. And as long as those interests clash, the UN will struggle to do the one thing it was created to achieve: stop wars entirely.